Hi, my name is Grace Gordon. I'm going to be doing a little demonstration on cherry blossom painting. I'm mainly a self-taught artist, but I did graduate with a bachelor's in art history, which is why before I show my demonstration, I'm going to show some traditional Japanese color wood block prints from the 18th century, 19th century, 20th century. I think it's important to look at where traditions begin, and we're all very used to seeing Western paintings, especially Western paintings of Eastern subjects. So I think it's important to look at these prints before we begin. So one of the main things I noticed when looking through these prints was that the artist, most of the artists, just suggested at the cherry blossoms. There's not much detail going on, and oftentimes they look like pink clouds. And that's something that I thought was very interesting and sort of gravitated towards when I was painting. It's really easy to get caught up in the detail. So my suggestion is to not, and to just have fun with it mainly. It's really easy to get stressed out about little things and little details. So there's a lot of ways you can paint cherry blossoms, and you can go online and see all the different techniques and stuff. But what I did, and what my demonstration is I used watercolor, mainly because that's my favorite medium to use, but also I think it looks the most like these Japanese woodblock prints. But of course, you don't have to use watercolor if you don't want to. You don't have any. There's so many other mediums. You can use whatever you have, really. I mean, crayons, colored pencils, pens, acrylic paint, oil paint, if you want to do that. I've even seen this being done with popcorn and a pen during the workshop. So yeah, now I will begin the video of me actually painting. Apologies in advance, some parts are out of focus, and it takes a little bit for the camera to refocus, but it does get there at the end. And then I'll just talk through my method and what I did. So I used 3 brushes here. I have a 1/2-inch tapered brush and 2 small liner brushes, and I'm using 4 different watercolors. So red, white, and the brown I have was more orange than brown, so I had to put some black in there, but that's the only reason I had black. But yeah, so I chose a photo. I just Google searched cherry blossom branch, because I decided I wanted to do a branch rather than the whole tree. But of course, you could do that if you wanted to, do the whole tree. But I liked the way that the branches, you see more of the branch than you do the blossom, actually, when you just focus on the branch. And I like the way that these trees have very unique growth with the trunk and the way the branches are. It's very distinct cherry blossom tree. There's all these juts, and it juts out in its own unique way, and I think that's an important characteristic when depicting this tree. But of course, also the blossom is important too. But yeah, so when I painted the branch, you can see I'm holding the edge, the end of the brush, and I'm kind of just letting gravity do the work for me, and I just spin the brush and it creates these natural branch-like lines that aren't perfect. And one of the reasons I love watercolors, especially when painting nature, is it puddles itself and it makes these nice little natural knots, especially when you're painting a tree trunk. That's what tree trunks have, those little knots. So as I did choose a photo, I use it as a reference. I don't use it as a one-step guide. Yeah, I don't think I'm even looking at it anymore at this point. I'm kind of just making branches and little twigs where I want them to go, where they feel natural. So I did speed up to the longer clips here because this would be a really long video if I didn't. But I'm starting with a lighter pink, and I'm doing some full bloomed petals, flowers, blossoms, doing some tiny buds. But I start with a lighter pink to make it look like they're further away. You know, things further away are often lighter. And then I go in later with a more saturated pink. So, as I said earlier, I took some inspiration from the traditional Japanese cherry blossom woodblock prints, and I'm just suggesting the shapes. I'm not doing any detail, but you can easily see what it is, I think. So I took the darker pink and I'm doing, again, the same thing I did with the lighter pink, some full blooms, some little buds, and what I really focused on was just getting 5 petals on full blooms. I think that's one of the other main characteristics of a cherry blossom tree, is those 5 petals. And not all of them are 5 petals. Some are on the side, so you maybe only see 3 petals. Maybe one's covering another one. of course, you can go back to what you already started. Nothing is permanent. So this is where the camera went out of focus for a bit, but it does come back. But all I'm doing is adding little dark circles to the middle to suggest that that's where the middle of the flower is. So as you can see, I've left two chunks in the corner there of negative space, and that's because that's where I'm gonna write the poem. So that's something to think about when you're picking a composition. Something I always suggest is to take a step back from your work or hold it a little arm's reach away from you just to see what it actually looks like and if you're happy with it. So one of the other little distinctions of a cherry blossom is they have these little stems coming out of the middle with a little dot at the end. And you see that in a lot of depictions of them. So I did that on some of them, but not all of them, and just let the darkness of the pink suggest that they're there. So this is what my finished tree looks like. Despite painting it horizontally, I actually decided to put it vertically, and you can see it still looks like a tree. That's kind of what I like about these depictions of cherry blossom trees. You can have them any way. You don't know if it's a branch or if that's the whole tree, or if it should go horizontally or vertically. And it's a lot of fun to play around with. And that's the most important thing, is as long as you have fun making it, doesn't really matter what it looks like. And you don't have to put a lot of detail into it to make your point. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you have fun painting, drawing, coloring, whatever, however you want to make a cherry blossom tree.